Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I'm going to be the bearer of some really bad news, especially for those of you who are planning to come into the UK in the year 2023-2024. Now, many of you all have been aware that there have been several updates about the UK visas, but none of them have been confirmed. No of these rules or laws have been in place. But today, all of the news that I'm going to be sharing with you is something that has been in discussion, that has been discussed by the Houses of Parliament, or things that have been put into place and will be updated on the Government of UK website. So if you are interested in any of this, do not forget to watch this video all the way to the end. But if you haven't already followed me on Instagram, now's your time to do so. So before we move ahead, I just want to say that if any of you are planning to come into the UK, please be mindful that there are going to be considerable and significant increase in the prices for all of the visa categories, including student visa, dependent visa, post-study work visas, skilled worker visa, and potentially even your tourist visas, along with your ILR and your British citizenship. If you don't believe me, this is what the House of Parliament has to say about it.
Maximise income. We plan to increase the rates of the immigration health surcharge, which have been frozen for the last 3 years, despite high inflation and wider pressures facing the economy and the system in general, to ensure that it covers the full healthcare costs of those who actually pay it. Under our plans, the main rate will increase to £1,035, and the discounted rate for students and under 18s will increase to £776. This increase to the surcharge will help fund the pay rise for doctors. At the same time, we will increase fees across a range of immigration and nationality routes, including for people coming here to live, work and study at a time of record high migration numbers. Specifically, this means increasing the cost of work visas and visit visas by 15%, and increasing the cost of study visas, certificates of sponsorship, settlement, citizenship, wider entry clearance and leave to remain visas and priority visas by at least 20%. We're also equalising costs for students and for those using a priority service, so people pay the same whether they apply from within the UK or from outside the UK. And this will help cover more of the cost of the migration and borders system, allowing the Home Secretary to divert more funding to police forces to help fund the pay rise for the police. And we will cut back on civil service recruitment in the Ministry of Defence until March 2025.
So, as you've just watched right here, you will appreciate the fact that all of the several visa categories and the IHS fees are going to be increased considerably over the next few months. Now, why are they doing this? The simple reason is because they are trying to fund pay hikes for all of the public sector employees, including doctors, teachers, and many other people, including ambulance staff, police, etc. One of the main ways to do this is by tackling immigration, obviously because UK has hit record immigration in the last 2 years, and to potentially make a little bit money out of it to fund the public sector in the UK. So now let's just come to the question of who all is it going to affect. So firstly, it's going to impact anybody who is planning to come into the UK in the next year, whether it is student visa, work visa, tourist visa, or any of the other visa categories across the entire span right now. The second thing is it's going to affect people who are in the UK at the minute but are considering to switch visa. So whether you are a student planning to go on a PSW, whether you are on your PSW looking to transfer into your work visa, whether you are on your work visa and you're looking to transfer beyond employers, so from one employer to the other, or if you're on dependent visa, all of these rules are going to impact all of you out there. So there is no escape. Even those who are planning to apply for their ILR or are planning to apply for their British citizenship are not left. All of these visa categories and all of these people are going to be affected in the next few months from these visa charges. Now, what's actually surprising is that the UK government is actually potentially offering all of the public sector employees a pay hike of nearly 5 to 7 or 10%. But when you look at the immigration charges or the visa charges that it's going to look at increasing, it's going to be increasing that by nearly 15 to 20% across visa categories. So this is obviously some really alarming rates, and I want to put this information out there for any of y'all who are potentially considering to come into the UK. So let's just look at some of the figures and some of the numbers just so that you are aware about this. So firstly, let's just talk about the IHS fees. So the IHS fees is something that is inescapable for any of you all planning to apply for a UK visa. Now the IHS stands for the Immigration Health Surcharge, and paying this fee entitles you to NHS services while you are studying or working in the UK for the duration of your study or work. So presently, the UK government is proposing an increase of the IHS fees from nearly £624 to £1,035 per year. So this approximate value is going to increase depending upon the number of years that you are going to be spending on your UK visas. The second thing that you need to remember is this is nearly a 417% increase over the 5 years. So say for example, you have come into the UK on a work visa and you need to complete 5 years of your work visa to be potentially eligible to apply for your ILR. So this is looking at a 417% increase in your IHS fees over the span of your 5 years of stay in the UK. The obvious thing that you need to remember is that international students and for children, this is going to be increased from nearly £470 to £776 per year. So that's again a considerable increase per year. And finally, for example, if you need to pay your IHS fees for 5 years, that's going to be a total cost of nearly £5,175. So as you can see right there, these IHS fees are skyrocketing, and also be mindful about it that currently the waiting times in the NHS are not small. So if you are in the UK, you would be aware that even if you need a regular GP appointment or an appointment at the hospital, it's got taking you anywhere between a few weeks to a few months. And for some specialist appointments, it even takes up to a year. So make sure you know the reality of the NHS before you are paying this really high IHS fees to come and work in the UK or to come and study in the UK. So that was about the IHS fees. Now let's talk about the visa fees. So if you are somebody who is considering to come into the UK in the next year, you will be expected to pay a 15% visa hike fees for your work visas, tourist visas, and your post-study work visas. And if you are somebody who is coming to work in the UK or will need a certificate of sponsorship or are eligible to apply for your ILR or would like your British citizenship, you will be expected to pay a 20% higher amount as compared to what is being paid right now. So these are the visa fee hikes that you will be expected to pay over the next year. So let's just throw in a few other numbers into this bucket right now. So let's take an example. For example, you are a person on a skilled worker visa who's coming into the UK and your occupation is not on the shortage occupation list. So you might not be somebody who's working within the healthcare, teaching, or any other sector which is under the shortage occupation list. So right now you would be paying around £1,423. However, this is expected to go up to £1,623, and that is only your visa cost. In terms of your IHS, you would be expected to pay £624 presently, but this is going up to £1,035 per year. So over the next 5 years, you would be expected to pay £4,543 per person. Now, considering you are a family of 4 people, the cost of this is nearly 33,000, which is 33 lakh Indian rupees. So keep this in mind, guys, because this was just an average sort of example to give you a flavor of what is the costs of living, but also the costs of visa that you are potentially looking at over the next few years if you plan to come into the UK. So like I said before, if you are somebody who's considering to come into the UK and you have the money to sort of support your visa cost and your stay in the UK, definitely go for it. But again, if you are somebody who is struggling, who does not have the financial means to pay up these visa costs, please make a wise decision, because maybe the UK is not the best place for you right now. So the other bits we're looking at is the changes to the student visa. Now, just in terms of the student visa, there have been several changes that have been proposed, and these are the highlighted ones which will clearly have an impact on any student who is potentially coming to work in the UK or to study in the UK. So these are the sort of changes which is applicable to any student who is planning to switch from student visa to their work visa once they've completed their degree or once they're potentially studying their degree. One of the first changes, as you can see on the screen, is that the applicant should have completed the course of study for which they were given their course. So they need to make sure that they have firstly completed the course for which they have come into the UK before they switch to their work visa. Second thing that they've recommended is obviously that the applicant should be studying a full-time course of study at a degree level or above with a higher education provider which has a track record of compliance. Obviously, as a sub point over there, you can see that the certificate of sponsorship for their skilled worker visa should have a start date no earlier than the course date completion. So this is another important point, which means that you cannot obviously have your work visa start date before the course has completed for yourself. And as you can see, the third point applies to the more sort of PhD level courses, where it says that the applicant must be studying a full-time course of study leading to the award of a PhD with a higher education provider who has a track record of compliance. And again, as a sub point over there, you can see that the certificate of sponsorship for the skilled worker visa must have a start date no earlier than 24 months after the start date of the course. So again, these are the sort of updates that you will see for the student visa. Now, that being said, there are also an update for the dependents of the student visa. So let's just come to that right now. So as you can see on your screens right there, it says that if you are somebody who's planning to apply in the Jan intake, so that is from 1st of January onwards, you will be allowed to get dependents only if you are studying a PhD level program or a master's degree at a research level. Now again, they have been really selective about this. So they've said that students who are at a bachelor's level or at a diploma level or even at a master's level without a research degree are not allowed to get their dependents. So keep that in mind, guys. Only if you are studying a PhD program or a master's level research program will you be allowed to get your dependents along with you in the UK. Now, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you found these updates useful. If you have any further questions, do not forget to leave them down in the comment section below and I will try to get back to them. But also follow me on Instagram because I post daily updates about all of this on my Instagram account. So take care, guys. Bye.